Hi everyone, it's Elaine Hamilton from the Reiki Center. A bit of a casual video today. Um, I have been musing about the future because I think the future for many of us, like it's often we ruminate about the past. Maybe we've got regrets, or maybe we're in the kind of victim blame game and we're going over and over events that happened in the past that kind of keep us trapped there, which can bring up a whole set of problems. But I'm pondering today the future because I've had quite a few things happen to me whereby I'm like, I really need to start thinking more about the future, or I should be working harder now to save for the future, or I should be putting plans in place now that will ensure a better future. And this is very normal, right? We're told to do this right from the get-go. What are your plans? And people start asking you quite early on, right? When you're what subjects do you want to learn? What are you going to study at university? What's your career path? And excuse me. So there's this constant um projecting into the future that starts really young. And so we are trained very young that the future is a real thing that we need to plan and worry about and think about, and as if it's an actual place. So the pondering really is we don't have to think very deeply to understand that it's not an actual place. So even though we do exist in time, and the hope is we will wake up into a tomorrow, even that's not guaranteed, right? If you go to bed at night, you really have no idea whether you're going to wake up or not. Like none of us do. But we project such a strong feeling of predictability and certainty that very few of us really go to bed worrying about whether we're going to wake up or not. Like there's a very strong built-in assumption. And I'm certainly not suggesting that you start worrying about it now, because it is one of those almost the assumption of predictability is one of those things that sets certain safety and certain relaxation into the system, or so we think. So this idea of believing that there is a certain future, or a future that we have to worry about and plan for and think about, actually expends an enormous amount of energy. And it also creates a huge amount of suffering because there's this massive scaffolding that we project forward into through these thoughts. So the first assumption is there is a future. And the second assumption is that it needs to be a certain way. I can make it better. I can influence it by what I do now. That's really important, right? So by thinking there's a future, we then start putting in place, or we start to suffer now because we think we should be doing more to secure a better future, right? And when I talk about this, you might be like, yeah, that's true. But when we really break it down, and this is the pondering, mind-blowing part, right? When we really break it down, it's just a fabrication. There is no actual future. You know what I mean? It's like just thoughts about what it would be like, projections, images, fantasies, stories about what we would like in our future, who might be in our future, what we can and can't cope with in the future. Wow, like so much energy. So the reason I'm pondering this is I'm working through the feta model, which is something I've recently discovered. Love it. I'm going to put a link downstairs, put a link below on this website that I found called Simply the Scene. Beautiful, beautiful writing, very clear pointing to the stages and why we go through the stages. And so the last one, I'm kind of, it's almost like a laddering effect. So you kind of go up to the understandings, then you kind of drop back down to the bottom and you go through it again. It's like deeper and deeper. So even though there's 10 fetters, what I've noticed is I'm cycling them. And every time I'm cycling them, it gets deeper, more understanding, more awareness. And I know not everyone suggests you do it like that, but that's just how it seems to be working for me. So, and I mention that because the final feta is really breaking the illusion of predictability, certainty, substance, and satisfactoriness. So it's this idea that we can somehow anchor in to a pattern of predictability or stability, of permanence or safety, that stability of it will be better, it can be better. And I don't want to make that sound as if it can't be better, or this nihilistic approach of, oh, well, what's the point? Because that's not what I'm referring to at all. What I'm referring to is when you start to look at the scaffolding that you have in place in your mind of your future and what you should and shouldn't be doing towards it, and the amount of energy you put into worrying about it or thinking that there's not enough, ties in very much with this idea that I'm not enough, this is not enough, it should be different, I should be different, I should be better. All of this stuff, all of this thought scaffolding is around this idea that we are moving in time and space into something that is a certain pathway or timeline that we can somehow affect in a real way now. Now, we can, like, I'm not suggesting you don't save for your future. I'm not suggesting you don't work, because all of these things are arising anyway. That's really my point, is all of this stuff is arising, and your impulse to save and your impulse to look after yourself and your impulse to, move in a certain direction is already there. It's already there. The question really is, do you need the scaffolding? Do you need all of the fantasy of what you need to be doing, how it's going to look, how you want it to look, how you need to worry about it now, right? Do we need all that? That's really the question. Or are we creating this false edifice, this false story that overlays the actual simplicity of our life and its movement and where it's going and the unfolding process? I'm kind of talking out loud, but I think I'm kind of getting to the crux here. It's this idea that we somehow need to add to it. And as I've been playing around with the feta system and also just my own self-inquiry, it's this realization that when we strip away this idea that we have to manage life in some way through this creation of a perceived stability in the future, something I do now can make later better. Something that I did in the past was wrong and I shouldn't have done it, and I could go back and fix it, right? Or somebody else somebody else did in the past, they could have done different, they could have fixed it, right? All of this backwards, forwards, this entire layering of thought that goes on and that we put a lot of time and energy into doesn't help, doesn't change anything, doesn't make anything different, actually. Underlying all of that, the foundation or the movement of life force in us, our life force, our movement carries on without any of that. And this is the stripping away. It's the stripping away of the ego, the person, the thinking that there's even a need for this scaffolding. There's a need for the person. And by the person, I'm talking about the story we tell ourselves of who I am and where have I been and where am I going, and all that narrative. It's like we have this narrative going on behind the scenes that is constantly pushing us. And you could even see it as the good cop, bad cop. When we tell ourselves off, when we bully ourselves, or we say we need to do better, we should be doing this. It's just kind of awful, that we, it's kind of funny though as well, right? When you really think about it. And what would it be like if you just eased off all of that? If you just realized that all of that is extra, unnecessary wasting of energy, and you just settle really into the here and now, because then when you're in the here and now, you actually start to really enjoy what's here. No matter what you think or your preference is for it being better, there's always in the here and now lots and lots of joy. Like, and I don't mean that as a feeling. I just mean that as just when you look around, when you really open your eyes and look around, there's a lot going right. There might be things going wrong, of course. Like all of us might face very challenging times where we look around and we're thinking, wow, this is really not preferred. I'd really prefer not to be having this very experience right now, especially if you're ill or you have pain or you're in an environment where other people are suffering. Obviously, you would prefer not to be in that situation. That's natural, that's normal. And so I'm not for a moment saying that you find joy in everything, but even in those moments of deep kind of challenge, there is lots to look around and be grateful for. And it's so in that very moment, if you're in that very moment without a future, without any hope, if you like, of a future, then what it kind of makes you do is it makes you stop right in this moment and experience this moment exactly as it is right now. And then there's an unfolding process, hopefully. Again, as we said, we never know, right? Minute to minute, we actually don't know. But there is this unfolding process that then happens into the next moment. But that moment isn't in the future. It's the next moment of now, and then now, and then now. And this is the whole of our lives is like that. And so, what would it be like? I guess it's an invitation to experiment as well with this idea of if I dropped all of that energy into thinking about my future and what I should and shouldn't be doing and blah, 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 and just really focus that energy back into the body, back into what my mind is really thinking about. Like, is it really sitting there bullying me and making my life quite miserable in the moment, right here and now? What am I doing with my energy? Where's my attention? And then as we start to really unpack that and really take time to value this moment to moment presence that we have. I mean, this really is all we have, right? Because it doesn't take a lot to think this through. There is no future. It's pretty obvious when we think about it. We don't want to think about it. But if you do, you get to the same conclusion that I've got to, right? Which is there really isn't one. And so let's reclaim all of that energy. And you could go and say the same for the past. I mean, that's another video, but it's like there is no past. There's just the memories of experiences that stacked, right? And we really have a lot of control over how we interpret those memories and what we do with them, and whether we bring them up like a movie over and over and over again. That's a choice. Or whether we put it to bed and we decide, actually, that's not now. And if it was really challenging and harrowing, thank God it's not now. It's not happening again right here, right now to me. And so therefore I have a choice around that, right? And then when you're in this moment, it's like, okay, what's really in this moment? Get curious about that, because it opens up a huge amount of presence and energy right here, right now. It becomes fascinating when you're really looking. You're not chasing into the future or ruminating on the past, and you're right here in this moment, it's incredibly rich and alive. And when you bring your full presence into it and you drop all that extra thinking, there's an enormous amount of okayness and enoughness. So when if you're one of these people that's always thinking it's not enough, I'm not enough, this isn't good enough, I want it to be better. All of that is thoughts. It's not present moment. So then coming back into the present moment and really just being with the present moment, you will see that it's more than enough, actually, more than enough. And then watching again as the mind goes, no, it's not. I want it to be different. Ah. And that's part of the meditation, right? That's part of the growth into contentment, because contentment really can only happen now, can't happen in the future because there's no future. So it's starting to bring that awkward truth more and more into your life, because the more you can accept that, the more you can work with it, right? If you can't accept it, then you're constantly chasing this idea, and it's only an idea of a better future, right? So these are my little musings for the day. It's kind of seems obvious, but it's kind of shocking when you really get it. It's like, oh no. Well, that's where I've been anyway. I've been in the oh no phase. Oh no, it's true. I don't want it to be true. I feel like a little tantruming teenager or a tantruming child. Like, no, I don't want it to be like this. But it is. That's the honest truth is that's exactly how it is. So I will leave you with those thoughts and see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.